Great. Good morning and welcome everyone who's joining us today. We're starting a few minutes late, so apologies for the delayed start due to some technical issues. But I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Anthony today from Ecoswap. Anthony, I don't know if it's worthwhile just maybe introducing yourself, introducing Ecoswap and what you do.
Yeah, hi Josh, pleasure to be here. So Ecoswap is a multi-choice gift card for sustainable and ethical brands. Um, Really trying to solve the problem of gifting for both consumers and for corporates when they're looking for something that is more ethical and sustainable, but don't know where to go and don't know where to start. So making sure that the brands and options that we have available are certified to be sustainable to really cut out that greenwashing. So that's Ecoswap. A bit about me. I'm the one of the co-founders and the CEO here at the company. We've been live for just over 2 years now. So my background was originally in banking and finance, hence wanting to start a sort of gift card. A lot of experience in the payment space as well.
I suppose, was there a specific moment where you thought, going from your career previously into founding your own business and starting up this one, it was a specific moment which made you think that this gift card market needed this approach, this sustainable alternative?
Yeah, there was actually, Josh. If we wind back the clocks to the terrible COVID lockdown times, I was actually had my consumer hat on, hunting around for a gift for an eco-conscious friend. Couldn't go to the high streets, and naturally went on to the web and to Google and started searching for sustainable products and services. And I was met with two key challenges. First being greenwashing, so lots of brands claiming to be sustainable when I knew they just weren't. And the second, when I did find products and services that I knew were sustainable, they just seemed to be a bit basic and wasn't sure if it would be exactly the right fit. So, bamboo toothbrushes and keep cups, great products, but maybe not what you want to get your mother-in-law or your best friend. So,
yeah. A lot of that stuff can be quite niche, right? It's a very personal choice. Some of those eco-friendly products, especially in the toiletries front.
yeah,
If you're gifting someone refillable deodorant sticks, for example, some people love them, some people hate them. It's a tricky thing. And
absolutely.
then
Well, there are some quite cool ones out there at the moment. Wild is one of them, which is a very hot product on the platform at the moment. But yeah, I
oh,
get
really,
exactly.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And can you see trends like that? On the platform, can you see where particular brands are kicking off and
Yeah,
are growing in
absolutely.
popularity?
Absolutely. Because naturally you see a lot of the payment flows going to the bigger, more well-known brands like the
Mm.
Body Shops and HelloFresh. But as people start to repeat order and repeat purchase, you see them going to different areas and exploring new avenues. And some of the smaller brands start to get the redemption. So it's kind of like it's sort of a bit of an exponential curve upwards for
Okay.
those smaller brands. It takes a while for them to pick up, but then once they start to pick up it, they pick up well, which is really, really exciting. And I guess exactly what we're trying to do. We're really trying to funnel um, money towards brands that are doing good and
Mm.
impact, and
Yeah.
especially those new brands that are coming in to try and create that multiplier effect in the ecosystem to encourage all brands to really be purpose led and operating for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously at Team Jump, all about motivating, empowering individuals to take positive steps, to take eco actions, and we use EcoSwap, of course, to reward members. It's one of the voucher denominations, one of the voucher options that we give out to people. But we always tackle that. We always have that issue, sort of the big brand. People gravitate right to those big brands, So when we offer EcoSwap alongside, I don't know, Marks and Spencers is always very popular, but it's very people always gravitate. It's always difficult to kind of inspire and incentivize people to kind of broaden their choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's the beauty of us being a multi-choice gift
Yeah,
card, where we can sort of bring together as many of the good impact brands that are out there to have a more holistic offering that can compete with the high street brands like the
yeah,
Marks and Spencer. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and that's what makes it easy, I think, to to sell the idea of the EcoSwap voucher, is the fact that it opens the door to so many other exciting impact brands. So, yeah, I think that's a really powerful part of it. And then thinking about those brands that you have on the having your voucher system, how do you vet those? How do you assure that brands that you're entering into the platform are credible and not just greenwashing?
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's one of the first and foremost things that we need to do, to make sure that we're not falling into the same trap as some of those high street brands that are greenwashing. So we look for certifications first and foremost. Things like B Corporation, 1% for the planet, climate neutral. These are more holistic, sort of end-to-end certifications that will look through a business end-to-end value chain, on all sorts of merits. Climate being one that's um, front and center, but also, you know, employee well-being and um, uh, labor and supply chain well-being and um, child labor, and depending on what the sort of industry is in that sector, they'll get different ratings. So B Corp is a very good holistic one that we know if they're a B Corp, it's likely that they'll be coming onto the platform. But then there might be other smaller companies that don't necessarily fall into that B Corp category, but we know they're doing, you know, really great things, and they might have different certifications that suit their niche. For example, you know, a furniture store might have a forestry um, or a soil certification, and therefore it would make sense to have a look at that company. Um, Above and beyond certifications, we also look at scoped emissions and impact statements. So we'll have a look at brands, what they put up themselves on their impact statements. Many brands these days will have them, but also some companies will have gone to third parties that will help vet them, that are outside of the B Corp certifications, but that will also help them with their sort of sustainability journey to reduce their scoped emissions. So we'll take that into consideration as well. And then thirdly, we also look for charities. So we allow charities on the platform. So if you're a registered charity in the UK, then if it fits the sort of ecosystem of EcoSwap, then you'd also be eligible for being on the platform.
Oh, amazing. No, it feels robust. You know, you've got different metrics there, different measures. We're doing some work at the moment on supply chain engagement, right? So encouraging individuals or organizations to challenge their supply chain around things like carbon emissions. Are you seeing a trend where more and more businesses are publishing that sort of data? Is it getting easier, do you think? Is there greater awareness of what uh, buyers need in order to assure the quality and carbon neutrality of products?
I think internally at these organizations, there's more and more awareness, and that's coming from the top with regulations that are out there, like CSRD and climate disclosures, um, especially in big organizations as well that are more heavily regulated. Um, However, I don't think a lot of organizations are really publishing their end-to-end scoped emissions. Some of the bigger organizations do have to publish those uh, requirements, but I think middle market and smaller companies are less likely to publish that sort of end-to-end scope 3 emissions, because it's just so difficult to basically achieve and
Yeah,
to get right. And as soon as you put it out into that public sphere, that's when you open up for being challenged. But I do think that internally, lots of companies are very much more focused, and they're challenging their supply chains, and that's, I guess, where it needs to start. The conversation has certainly started, and it's happening, and we see that. And when we're having conversations with businesses that we're bringing onto the platform as well, we're having those really robust conversations.
great. I suppose I had a question around other trends that you're seeing in consumer behavior and trends around sustainability and e-gifting? In the few years that you've been running with Ecoswap, have you seen people's expectations change? Have you seen differences in how people are approaching sustainability?
Yeah, I think I guess there's two parts to that question. So firstly, on the sustainability one, like I think we're at a point in time where sustainability is more a norm. It's becoming more of a norm, and it's an expectation of people. So I think companies, whether it's because of over the pond and what's going on in America, is people are
Mm,
sort of moving away from using eco terms and things like this. I think there's an element of that that's going on, but I think also too, it's just an evolution of sustainability into just like impact driven and impact focused brands. So brands that are there for people and planet over profits, at least equal to profits. Um, More and more of that is going on, and that's more and more what we're seeing is like the consumer expectation um, when looking for brands or products and services. Um, so I think that's the trend that is happening. I guess maybe 2-3 years ago, you would say Gen Zs are really pushing for that, and there's sort of different areas and cohorts of customers and people that are at the forefront. But now I think that's filtered through to more of the mass market. That's
mm,
what we're seeing, unless we just have the people that are interested in climate coming to us. But no, we think with the mass market, people starting to buy our products. And then on the e-gifting point, so in the UK alone, there's 2024 there was 7 billion in gift card sales. I think 2025 was just over £8 billion in gift card sales, and globally, it's a $1 trillion market, so it's huge. In the UK, it's predicted to be growing 20% in the next couple of years as well. So that's just going to be growing um, quite drastically. And there was a huge jump over COVID naturally because people couldn't be going into stores and buying like e-gift cards, physical gift cards. So e-gift cards and the digital trend has certainly taken off. Um, and I think especially in the multi-choice space, so just like being able to have that real flexibility and ease of use, that is something that is starting to grow. More and more people are having more people that they need to buy, or that are long distance, and digital gift card is just an easy way to get those into people's inboxes very quickly without having to send a postcard or deliver something by Amazon.
mm, mm.
It's also an environmentally friendly way of doing it as well.
Yeah, yeah. And we've always, we give away, I can't remember, it's thousands of pounds worth of gift cards every month via the schemes we run for our clients. Um, and it's always been that gift cards have been the easiest choice for us, not only from a ease of fulfillment, right? They're online, they're digital most of the time. We can get them out easily, but also from a sustainability perspective, because even notwithstanding the huge range of great businesses that you have within the Ecoswap platform, but even if you're giving someone a voucher for a high street retailer, and that person then goes out and gets to make their own choice about something which they want, which is important to them, meaningful to them, useful for them, rather than being lumbered with a gift which kind of off the shelf, which we would send, like a pot plant that we could send out to them, which they might not want, and it's not right, it's not fair, it's not not sustainable if that then goes to waste because they don't want it. So I think
Absolutely.
inherently they're just better, aren't they? Yeah.
There's a stat on that, and maybe don't quote me on this. Something like
Yeah.
40% of gifts bought in the UK over Christmas time will end up in
Mm,
landfill.
yeah,
Something crazy like that within 3 to 6 months. So
yeah,
not just the fact that we're doing like sustainable, brands on our platform. Even if you were to just buy someone a general multi-choice gift card and give people that choice,
yeah,
more likely they'll do something that they want,
yeah,
and it won't end up in landfill
yeah.
actually get used. So
100%. Yeah, yeah. And I wonder whether there's a bit of a mindset shift or a cultural shift that's needed to open the door fully to those sort of conversations. I think people come to expect, a physical gift, and I don't think that's, well, clearly from the data, that's not right. That's not fair. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly, from the data, it's growing market, but that was one of the challenges or the challenging discussions me and my co-founder would have when we started up the business. It was like, well, I like to have a physical gift, and I think that most people would think like that. But then when you look into the data, you do see that, well, actually, people do like to be able to go and choose things for themselves and
yeah,
not have something that they're not going to use.
yeah, and I think it works really well from that corporate gifting perspective, right? That must be a popular market or popular area for you?
Absolutely. So actually, 70% of our business is done in the
Mm,
B2B space. And a lot of people might sort of raise their eyebrows to that because you think of birthdays and Christmas, which is a great amount of gifting. But when you start to think about corporate gifting, reward and recognition, customer loyalty, activations, events, all of these types of things that corporates and businesses use gift cards for, it's actually such a huge market. For us, we're really wanting to help businesses and organizations that have strong ESG policies and corporate social responsibility, basically align their engagement programs around those values, because at the moment it's very disfragmented. And I found this when working for a large bank in the UK that had very strong ESG commitments and corporate social responsibility. And when I received one of these reward and recognitions and went through the hundreds of different gift cards that were there, it was only a handful that were remotely, sustainable,
mm,
ethical. So there was no alignment between that engagement to the values of the organization. And by using something like an EcoSwap, that gives you direct and tangible engagement to those values of the organization. It's something that employees can really understand, and they know the brand and they know the value of a gift card, and it gets them thinking about sustainability and aligns with the values of the organization. Whereas a lot of these big organizations will do things like um, let's use a keep cup for the month of July, or let's stop printing paper. And it creates a little bit of a buzz maybe for a week, but it's
yeah,
quickly forgotten. And then it loses a lot of the power behind aligning to the values of that organization.
yeah. We call those sort of initiatives the flash in the pan ones, right? They're good, they burn bright, but they burn out quite quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
flash
yeah,
in the pan.
yeah. But I can see, any corporates who are giving out vouchers, especially if they're giving out rewards for sustainability actions, right? If someone's done something really good around their ESG, around sustainability, and they're going through the internal reward system, which lots of these large organizations have, to then gift somebody an offering which promotes further consumerism or promotes purchasing waste and that sort of thing. There's a disconnect there, right? And I think that's a really strong spot for EcoSwap to be in terms of helping businesses, overcome that sort of juxtaposition, overcome that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and then what would you say the biggest challenge that you have at EcoSwap in terms of scaling sustainable consumer behavior? You're right, you want more and more people to use the voucher. What's the biggest challenge you have when trying to promote and grow it?
Yeah, so I see two parts to that question. Like, one of it is scaling consumer behavior to be more sustainable, um, which I feel like EcoSwap is just the door that opens you into sort of that realm. And it's like,
Mm,
it's about making small swaps to then change behaviors. And, when you get a gift, it's kind of a multiplying effect. So if you had been introduced to these new brands, then that's giving you a whole new perspective on different ways to be sustainable and ethical. And then you might choose to again give someone else a gift, and that will open the door to someone else. And we see that as like sustainability multiplier.
yeah, I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
And then once you're multiplying that gift giving, then you might start to change the way you do your own purchases and start to make those small swaps um, uh, in your everyday life. And then once these swaps become ingrained in behavior, that's when the more seismic shift starts to happen. Um, so that's the challenge we have, and we're just at the beginning of it. In terms of like scaling EcoSwap, I guess the challenges for us is that we're a small company, small startup. It has been bootstrapped and we haven't taken any investment. So the challenge really is just getting our name out there and marketing, sales, etc. I think once we do start speaking to the companies that are, that have ESG values and corporate social responsibility, it's a no-brainer. It
Yeah.
just makes sense. But it's just getting in front of the right people at the
Yeah.
right time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's great. That's interesting. I love that idea of it's kind of a snowball effect of when you've got someone who's come in who's used the service, and then they might gift it on, or they might tell a friend about it, and it growing from there. Because it's a very powerful thing. And then finally, I think just a more general question around eco-conscious choices. But do you have a kind of one actionable tip that you would give someone who wants to make a pro-sustainable choice, but perhaps feels overwhelmed about where to start?
Yeah, I think start small, but start in like with something that has habitual
Mm,
terms. So like if you were going to just go and purchase one piece of clothing, you might not purchase that type of clothing if it's a winter jacket or something. You might only do it very seasonally and might be every 2 years, and that's not really going to change your behavior. But if you start small, and it might be like in the kitchen, like you're cleaning up liquids or you're washing cloths and things like that. There are so many great companies out there that are doing cleaning products, but these things you're using quite frequently. We have a few on our platform, so I'll just shout out to Steep, which is one of those companies. But you can get cleaning products from these companies, and more often than not, people aren't 100% wedded to their cleaning products. It's they don't have endearment towards their cleaning products. It's something that you can swap out so long as it's doing the right job. Um, then and then if it's better for the planet, then it's a win-win, right? So those type of swaps, I would say, are the easier way to do it. I think another great one is like forest bikes, for example. Like it's exactly the same as a Lime bike in terms of getting you from A to B, but when you're doing it, you're planting trees and you're helping the planet. So just a no-brainer for me, swaps like that.
yeah, there's certainly that sort of that sweet spot of behaviors which you can do, which have a much better environmental impact, but with minimal. There's no difference to your lifestyle, or no difference to your. Quite a lot of time it's cost, right? Some of those eco-friendly cleaning brands are more expensive, but sometimes that's not the case. I think there's a slow equaling amongst those costs. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're out of pocket by choosing the eco-friendly option.
Yeah, I think cost was always a blocker at the beginning, and I
Yeah,
think over time that's starting to reduce. One is that um, the costs are just coming down for sustainable products because the supply chain is improving, and therefore they're able to compete more with economies of scale. So costs are coming down. But two, I think even historically, sustainable products are more likely to last longer and have more longevity. So when you actually do the equation over a longer time horizon, then the cost actually might much closer. But when you see the ticket value up front, sometimes it's a bit of a blocker.
mm, mm. You've mentioned a couple of brands available on the EcoSwap app. Do you have any other favourites?
Yeah, big favorite one that we've recently brought on is Finisterre. So
Yeah.
outdoor apparel, very cool, friendly brand that we have on there. Ocean Bottle is another really popular one that we have on there. Very convenient, great gifting because everyone is in need of a good water bottle. Um, uh, some of the sort of household names that are on there, like the Body Shop and Rituals and the White Company, they're all B Corp companies, and HelloFresh that are on there. Um, but yeah, Forest Bikes is another one of my favorites because I use them so frequently. So there's quite a
Mm.
good range of interesting smaller brands on the platform, as well as some of the household names.
Yeah, I love that. There's strong aspirational brands, right? Finisterre or the White Company. If you were receiving a gift, they're kind of perfect gift territory, aren't they? There's some really nice quality stuff. It's going to last. Yeah, I think that's really important, and that's certainly what we see when people are picking vouchers from our platform. Is that aspiration? If our users see vouchers on a platform and they really want to have that voucher because they love the brand, they love the products, then they're more likely I think to do then those behaviors which we're asking them to do, right? They're more likely to take the steps to earn points in order to climb the leaderboard to win the voucher. So
Absolutely.
I think that's really important. You want to have those real, standout brands which people aspire to and people like. And I think absolutely that hits it on the head. Great. Well, Anthony, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Obviously, if people want to find out more about Ecoswap, Googling Ecoswap, I'm sure we'll bring it out. We'll bring it up for them. It's great always to work with you. It's great to see you, and it's great to be able to offer your vouchers as part of the Team Jump platform as well.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, Josh. Cheers. Have a nice day.
See you later. Take care.